What is most critical, especially in the early days, is building the most amazing product that people cannot live without, and they just have to tell their friends. That is the secret sauce.
Hey everybody, welcome back to our Friday Lives. I've got the infamous co-founder and CEO of SUBTA Chairman, Ryan. Thanks so much for being on.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
Yeah, how have you been, man?
Good.
It's good to see you.
It's been a wild ride. I know it's been too long, and can't wait to get out to the next SUBTA event, which I hear is in the fall. Which we're booking hotels now.
Yeah, good. Yeah, we're excited, man. We're super hopeful that the event's set for September 21st to the 23rd. And for those of you that don't know, Ryan and I, we kind of go way back. He was actually at my event in 2017 in LA, and we got to meet there. And a big conversation for today's topic is the growth of SUBTA Chairman. And so you became, in 2020, number 6 on the Inc. 5000 list. So number 1, congratulations. That's super amazing and super impressive. Let's talk about where you were in 2017 when we met and now where you're at.
Yeah, 2017. So 2017, we had just pivoted from the live event space. And so if for the viewers, if you don't know, SUBTA Chairman actually started off as this live experience where we transformed a 200-acre campground into a living crime scene. And that's where we really found product market fit, and people were gravitating towards this immersive experience or this different format of storytelling. The problem that we had is just the business didn't scale. So my partner and I, we go back from the obstacle race industry, and you could put 10, 15,000 people through in any given weekend, but we couldn't do that with SUBTA Chairman. It would break the immersion, and you would have just a whole bunch of people, around the crime scene trying to investigate. And so there were a lot of limiting factors with that business model. But then we pivoted. So 2017, we pivoted from the live event into the subscription box business model. So let's see, when you and I met, we were probably
it's October of 17.
Yeah, so probably somewhere between $3 and $4 million business, 5-7 of us running around with our heads cut off. Up until the Inc. list, and then obviously last year was another huge growth year for us, and we actually ended the year EBITDA positive for the first time, and we're celebrating that internally because we doubled growth again. So we did over 50 million last year in sales, and it was the first year that we made money. So we're really proud right now.
A couple of things that I like that you brought up here. One, you went from what we'll call a retail business, right? I mean, you had a acreage and you were doing, like you mentioned, it was live crime scenes on there. And you knew you couldn't scale it, right? Unless you went and got more and more property, but then it's like scaling the employees, it's scaling the experience. And you said, like, you pivoted to this subscription model. So number one, like, kudos to you being a little like foresighted on that. That's genius. And then 2, understanding for those of you that are entrepreneurs, it does take 3-4 years till you sometimes start making money, and most companies are burning cash throughout that process. But let's also go back to this crazy number you just told me: $3 to $4 million business to 50 million in 3.5 years. I mean, gosh, that's amazing. Tell me more about that. How you think you got there?
Not being risk averse, and like it is. It's interesting because when the Inc. list hit last year and we started to finally get the attention that I felt the team and the organization deserved, what's interesting is folks just see those splashy numbers and they're like, that company, they've got it all figured out. Look at what they're doing. Like, no, that's not it at all. And all too often we are in life or death. We bootstrapped this company, so we have raised 0 equity. And we've been able to cash flow the business, and there is just this energy and this feeling that you're going to figure it out before it all comes collapsing down. And listen, I've been through that as well. I was a part of another business. Well, I've been a part of many businesses. Only this one is still around. But I've been a part of that failure where you just have this belief that things are going to work, and sometimes they don't. But with SUBTA Chairman, like, we refuse to quit and we refuse to fail. And so, do we stumble? Yeah. Do we make bad decisions? Sometimes. but we learn from them, and we continue to take the organization forward.
I think, look, there's no entrepreneur that somewhere in the process didn't fail, right? So I always say, if you don't fail at anything, that means you never tried anything new. So I think, again, it's super amazing that you kept rolling. I think, let's go back to, why did you pick this industry? How did it make sense on a subscription level, right? We all know that all these true crime, these TV shows on Netflix, and I mean, they're popular, right? And everybody likes a mystery. So what gave you that inspiration to do that? Are you really into that? Did you say like, oh, I can really scale this? Was this purely business? Like, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I guess the first thing is, what I have learned is that businesses are built on products. Businesses are not built on models. And the objective is to find product market fit, which, by the way, is the most difficult thing to accomplish in business. I feel like that my partner Derek and I have been struck by lightning, because we've been able to find product market fit twice now. And I think we've been very fortunate to find that. And this time, so far, we haven't screwed that up. But the origin story of Hunt to Killer was really using the same sort of principles that we had from the event company from 2011 through 13, which was Run for Your Lives. And Run for Your Lives was a obstacle race event that we put on, where we immersed people into a post-apocalyptic experience. So basically, think Tough Mudder, think Warrior Dash, except you donned a flag football belt and there were 3 flags hanging from it. And we put 150 zombies on a 5-kilometer course that would chase you around. And we learned a lot from that. Ultimately, it failed, but we learned a tremendous amount about business and growth and really what not to do. And so when we launched Hunt to Killer, it was very much the same thing. Like our passion, what gets us up each morning, is about building communities and bringing people together. The vehicle for that is great products through immersive experiences. But the vision here is to bring the world together around immersive experiences, give people something to talk about and experience together. And that has never stopped. That's been the common thread between all of these businesses. And so what we did is we used the same sort of methodology that we did for Run for Your Lives, which was, the goal is to distort reality and immerse people inside of a story that we have created. Well, what are some emerging genres or some emerging themes? So thinking back to 2010, you had The Walking Dead, which was up and coming. And then fast forward to 2016, when we were launching Hunt to Killer, you had podcasts and these micro communities that were building around this true crime space. And it just seemed like a great opportunity. You had escape rooms and interactive theater and all of these different kind of experiential things happening, but nothing really for that market. So, sadly, I am not a big true crime buff. But at the end of the day, like we are very much in line with our vision and our passion.
Yeah, no, I love that. And, thinking about, I think what you've done a really good job is building an experience and cultivating a community, right? And also you've given people something to do at home, right? And like, whether that's with their significant other or they're just in a crime, they want to solve it. Like, it's like a date night too, and like in a package, right? Which I think is awesome. I actually just signed up, and I hope that's like, you forgive me for waiting 3.5 years to do that. But, I did it this week actually. And one, it was in prep for this call too. I wanted to get in and play with somebody and do the mystery with somebody else. And I think it's cool, and I'm excited. And I think one thing that I liked, and actually we got inspiration from Gentleman's Box from you guys, and that was building out the questionnaire leading up to the purchase. So nobody can actually make the purchase on your site without qualifying, right?
Yeah,
let's talk about that.
We are slowly getting away from that, but that is still the funnel today, and we will always optimize paid digital through that funnel. But we're getting more into kind of a holistic e-commerce strategy, because like what we have found, and I'm sure we'll get into this, is that our business model has completely changed. What used to be a subscription box business driving people through a single sales funnel is really turning into an e-commerce store. So like in development right now, we've got a store that will be launching in June. We've got all new products in different categories and spaces that we are extremely excited about. But what did work and what continues to work for us is this lead generation magnet, maybe, or this lead generation tool of putting people through the questionnaire. And Eric Carlson from Sweatpants Agency, him and I go way back. He is a master in this arena. And in late 2016, early 2017, we decided just to drop it in there. And instead of popping up like, hey, give us your email address for a 15% discount, like what if we could start the experience before they ever made the purchase? And there's all sorts of books on micro commitments and different things like that. And that's what we saw. So not only were we introducing them to the experience, not only were we explaining through the questions, explaining what they were getting into. So there's this kind of informational series that's happening at the same time. Not only are we collecting their information, so we're producing names and email addresses with that. But at the end of the day, it is the psychology of micro commitment. So answer this question. Great, I answered it. Well, I already answered that question, so now I'm going to answer this question. And by the time you get all the way through, you feel compelled or committed to give us your email address. And now that you've gone through all of that, there's even more of a commitment to just follow through with the checkout. So that was a huge win for us, probably 3 months into this journey, and we have not been able to test out of that ever since.
I think you're right. When people start making those micro commitments, they start to get like pot committed into the purchase, right? And you're asking like great questions, like, are you into true crime? And like, how often do you, who are you going to play this with? And like all these questions you get excited to start answering. I also think what's really important, and for those of you listening, if you're going to add something like this, you do want to A/B test it. I A/B tested it for Gentleman's Box, our premium subscription. And we saw that not only were we getting a better conversion rate on the questionnaire, but then we were actually acquiring an email, as you mentioned, and then we were putting those people's emails into a drip series to get them to convert down the road. So like it's a win-win. More conversions, gathered email addresses, and then we're able to convert them later. I'm sure you're seeing the exact same thing. So, and what's funny is that goes against all psychology of e-commerce from 5-6 years ago, right?
Yeah.
5-6 years ago, you were like, dude, how do you fly them through the checkout process? Like, homepage, buy now, checkout, boom, move on. And like, it's different now. I think, and that's why you also, when you see some of these like beauty subscriptions, they're asking you questions about yourself. Like what's your skin color? Do you like this? Do you like that? And you're building a profile around the consumer that's eventually going to allow you to send that consumer items that they're more likely going to like, and they're less likely they're going to churn, right? Yep. Now with yours, correct me if I'm wrong, but like every month for like a period of time, I'm getting more clues to solve a mystery, right? So more like I'm not solving it on the first box. Nope. So I can't quit. Once I'm in, like I'm not stopping.
You can't quit. You can't quit
until I call you on like personal level and be like, yo, like what's the answer? Or not like
I might. It depends on which season you're on. I might not even know.
What if I got to impress somebody to like ask them I'm really smart? Like, you know what I mean? Like, can I get like a little clue or something?
Yeah. I can help you with the very first one.
All right.
Wait, you're right, and it goes against conventional wisdom. But what we have focused on, and it's still relevant. So when folks are like, hey, what is the ease of checkout, or how do I get someone across that finish line? Like that still holds true. It just holds true, at least for us, at a different stage or a different part in the checkout experience, which means once their cart is filled, like that's the time to accelerate. That's the time to remove every single barrier or obstruction or check in the block, whatever it is, like that is the place to remove it. But leading up to that, like I think the whole concept of micro commitments is really here to stay, and it needs to be relevant and customized. Like, I'm advising someone that's starting a subscription business, and they tried to put a checkout flow, and basically they used our same questions and then twisted some stuff, and like that won't work. Like you really need to sit down and think about like, what are you trying to gather, and how is this going to make people excited about your experience?
I think too, you can also use that survey to gather data that can help make you better decisions in the product in the future too, right? So like if they're selecting certain things, maybe it's colors, whatever the case may be, that's going to give an indicator of like what the consumer now might like. Because I think the biggest mistake entrepreneurs make is we think we know all the answers. Like we're all guilty of that when we're starting a business. Like, oh, it should be this because we think so. The truth is the data is going to tell us the answers. And the truth is we want the audience to tell us what they want. What do the consumers want? Us being able to understand the consumer behavior is like, that's what's going to separate the winners and the losers, right? So I love what you're doing because, again, you're getting them involved. You're getting them built into a community. You've also built a really big Facebook group, right, around this like Hunt a Killer community. Tell me about that and how that's helped the brand so much.
Yeah, and it was all accidental because when we started our community, this actually goes to your initial point of like, you think you know what the customer wants, but you don't actually know until they start experiencing your product, and then you collect that feedback. The only reason that we started our Facebook community in the very early days was to be able to collect that type of feedback. Like, we want to know what our customers want. We want to know the tweaks and the changes and the iterations. You know, Hunt a Killer today, the season, I know what season you're going to get. I know what episode you're going to get. And it's nowhere close to season 1. Like, if you would have joined our experience when we first met, you probably would have thrown the box away and never looked back.
Got it.
We've gone through hundreds, thousands of iterations and improvements because we're constantly listening. And that was the very first step, or the reason that we started that Facebook group. The reality is we got lucky there because so many people wanted to be a part of that community that it really became a sales channel or a word of mouth for us. You know, now everybody talks about brands or communities and all these other things. Couldn't agree more. We may have stumbled into it by accident because we wanted to learn how to improve our overall experience. But I think it's a critical component to any business nowadays.
Yeah, you built a tribe out of your customers. They actually inherently become sales reps for you, which means you get a ton of organic traffic, which lowers your acquisition costs and I'm sure overall increases LTV, which is a funny story. Do you remember when we were at dinner and I was like, yo, Ryan, what's the LTV? And you were like, unsure. This is like, what was that, 2018 or 19? I think we were having dinner and I was like, Ryan, do not call me, text me, email me, and tell you that number. Talk about how critical that number, that KPI has been now, because it's allowed you to make decisions for future marketing efforts. Has it been, right? Is that a metric now that's measured regularly?
Sort of. It's still very, it's hard. It is extremely hard to continue to calculate your LTV and understand what's profitable, whether you're changing your markets or accelerating growth, and the dynamics are constantly changing. We think we know what our LTV is, and that allows us to understand how much we can spend to acquire each customer and ensure that we remain profitable. We have been, because of the bootstrap nature, we have focused more on cash flow since day one than profitability. And that's one of the reasons that, the first few years we were in a loss until last year. Just this constant belief that, like, we're going to figure it out. We're going to figure out and solve this business model as we continue to scale. Retail's been a huge part of that. And I think it's going to be a big part of the future of Hunt a Killer. But yeah, I do agree with you. Like, understanding your lifetime value is critical. Not running out of cash is probably the most critical thing, and then figure out the LTV.
Yeah, no, for sure. So those that are going to watch this episode, there's going to be a lot of startups and aspiring entrepreneurs that want to build their business to $50 million, just like $50 million a year in revenue. Give me your top 2 or 3 tips to somebody that's early stage, 500 to 1,000 subscribers. And like, because I think what you see is like a little bit of that bell curve, and then you might get a hockey stick growth, and then you start to plateau, right? Tell me what you might give as a recommendation or a tip to those people.
Yeah. If you're
how about this? What's one of the biggest lessons you learned starting out? Like, talk about that because it's critical.
Yep. Also, can you hear me? Because my headset keeps getting jammed with this cell phone. Okay, good.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things to unpack in there, and I think what is most critical, especially in the early days, is focusing on product market fit, and building the most amazing product that people cannot live without, and they just have to tell their friends. Like, that is the secret sauce. And it's interesting because there's a whole bunch of like marketing experts out there and all these other pros that are telling you what you need to do to your business and how to tweak it, and they've got the magic powers. There is no magic. There are companies every day doing this in broad daylight. Apple, Tesla, Traeger, they're doing this in broad daylight, You just got to look. They're building amazing products. And when you do that, the rest kind of falls into place. You know, the marketing, great marketing needs to supplement or needs to help out with communicating the value proposition and what it is that you're trying to do. But great marketing will not mask a crappy product. And so, you know, I think in the early days, it's all about developing the product, focusing on the product, and by nature that means focusing on the customer. Meaning that when you're building this product, you're asking the customer what they think about this product, and it will mold. And it will continue to iterate and never stop. Like there's this other thing where it's like, oh, like we have the best product now. Like, no, that the iterations and the constant improvements is never ending. And that's like the fun. That's the whole point of business. So, you know, number one, in the early days, it's focusing on the product, focusing on the customer, and really starting to kind of build that tribe. But number two is really about the team. So once you have found product market fit, the thing is you can't do that all by yourself. You can't scale a business. You can't develop supply chain. You can't do all of these things as a solo entrepreneur or just you and a co-founder. And so, you know, what is the biggest asset or what is the brightest spot of Hunt a Killer? It's our people. Like we have amazing folks. We have amazing writers, graphic designers, like world-class marketers. Like it's just, it's incredible. You can't do it alone. And so I just read this book and it was called Who Not How. And it is just, it's put so much into context over the past few years as we've grown the business. Like it's not about me saying, how are we going to do that? It's about saying, hey, we're going to do that. Now, who do we need to hire? Who is the subject matter expert? Who already has that experience and can come in and tell us how we should do that?
I think what's important too is like you're getting the team buy-in, right? So it's not about leading. It's not about leading the charge. It's about leading those that are in your charge, right? And like getting the team buy-in on everything. And to two of your points, on the first one, which the product fit, what you're saying essentially is like, even if your marketing is amazing, the product sucks, they're going to churn. So we got to have good product. And also building brand is like critical with the product. And then to your team point, like no entrepreneur, I don't care who you are, does it alone. Like, I mean, I can't even do this like Facebook Live, LinkedIn Live without my team, like setting up the cameras, like then post live, they're making mini clips of it. I mean, it's critical because we're not taking that. We're going to pull 3 or 4 1-minute clips out of this video. We're going to then spread it over different social channels. They're posting it on my LinkedIn. They're posting on my Instagram. Like you can't do it alone. You can't build a business doing 50 million a year in revenue plus a year in revenue. You can't get there with a team, without a team. That's pretty awesome. So kudos to you to one, recognizing that. And I think that those are two very, very good tips for anybody building a business. One is you have to let other people that are really good at doing things, let them do it. And you hire smart people so they can tell you what to do, not so that you can tell them what to do. I think that was Steve Jobs or something that said that. Yeah. So
if you're the smartest person in the room, then you're in the wrong room. And like I am by no stretch of the imagination the smartest person in the room at all, ever. We have incredible people that are charged up by what we're doing, by our vision, our purpose, the growth, the recognition that we're getting, and I'm incredibly proud of that.
Yeah, I love it. Ryan, amazing job with Hunt a Killer. You're really pioneering the subscription space. I can't wait until we can go have drink and dinner again. I think you owe me a dinner this time. You owe me a steak.
There it is. I owe you a steak.
Got to cash in on that. I'm super excited to try Hunt a Killer. So for those of you watching, I recommend you go sign up. But again, thanks so much for your time. Thanks for your insight. Thanks for being a good friend. Hopefully we'll see you in Dallas. And if not, I'm just going to have to make a special trip.
There we go. Awesome. Thanks for having me, Chris.
Thanks, Ryan. Talk to you soon, man. Thank you so much.